listen.
Alright, this is the LA5 and I'm going to show you how to do crouching, swaying, skeleton, however you want to say it. So I'm going to try to do the best tutorial I can. This one might be a little more difficult than my last swaying tutorial, but definitely less parts. So, alright, let's get to it. Well, you're going to need to take apart a whole skeleton. Alright, here's what you're going to need. Okay, once you get the whole skeleton took apart, once you get it all taken apart, you want to unscrew the leg joints almost as far as I can. You want a lot of play in them, okay? And there's a bone here. That is going to get in your way, so you want to shave that off. Just cut off with a saw or whatever, okay? Now right here, you want to drill a hole, and that's going to go all the way through. It's like in between the three little divots here. You want to just drill it all the way through. Once you got that done, you're done with that part. Okay? You're not doing anything with the front chest part. Okay? This, you want to cut off on both sides from the spine and from the pelvis here. Okay? As you can see, it's connected here. You want to cut 1, 2, 3, 4. Just cut it off. You're not going to need it. Alright? Then you want to take both arms that you got here. There'll be like a little pivot joint right here. You want to cut that off of both arms because you're not going to need that either. Alright. The spine and the head. Okay, now that you got this part, you want to make sure that the head's straight with this, and you want to take it and go bam. See how that popped in? Pops in easy every time. That's what you want to do. And this is going to give you that tilt of his head, and it will stay like that until you pop it back out. So just pops in real easy. Okay, now when you get to the back, here's the back, and you want to go from the bottom of the back plate 6.5 inches, and you want to put a hole in there. Now I'm not going to tell you what size screw to put in there because everybody has different screws, but I'm going to tell you the washers and the nuts and the length of the screws that you need. So that'll be up to you what size that you use. Okay. Now all the PVC that I use is 1 inch. So this piece would be 9.5 inch, and you want to drill a hole probably like a half inch down. I didn't drill all the way through. You just want to go through the first part of it. It's not all the way through. I mean, you can if you want, but you won't need to. 1 inch 90. Okay. A 28 inch piece of 1 inch, and you want to flatten this out in the vise and heat with the heat gun like I did in my last tutorial. Showed you how to do that. Put the hole in it, okay, and then 7.5 inches down from here, lined up with this other hole. It's got to be lined up. You want to drill all the way through to the back side. 7.5 inches from the top, drill all the way through, and make sure it's lined up with the bottom, or it won't work. Okay, you're going to need a motor controller, which if you need to know how to get that part, I can tell you where to get it. Wiper motor and a deer motor. And all the other parts that you need, I'll let you know. That'll be like the washers, the screws, a little L brackets for the wiper motor, zip tie, you know, stuff like that. And we'll go on from there. Alright, now for the box part of it. I don't really know how to, everybody makes a box a different way. I don't know. I threw this together. These 1 inch by 4 inch pieces here, I had got out of the garbage. They threw away a whole bunch of boxes, and these pieces I already had. So I just cut them down to what I wanted them to be. Okay, so this piece here is, it's like 15 inches, 16 inches, or whatever. Okay, so what I did is I took this, put it on all 4 corners, and I put some 2x2 boards on the inside of these, and then just put plywood on top. You can make the box any way you want. Okay, the size of the box doesn't matter. Okay, going this way is 24 inches, 2 foot. Going this way is 26 inches. Okay, so that's pretty much the size of the box that you need. All right, so I don't know. It's a box. Okay, like I said before, I made my box different. Everybody's gonna make their box, different unless you follow the way I did it. Like I said, it was a 1x4s because I had it. You know what I mean? That's the only reason why I did it. And then I did 2x2s across to do the framing. All right, I got this extra board 2x2 here. All these boards here are 2 foot. I got this extra one here because the bottom of this is 2x2, and the top of this has to be 1 foot. So that's why I did it like that. All right. Now, when you put your bracket in, this bracket I had made up myself. You're gonna make your bracket however you make your bracket. So these measurements right here probably won't pertain to you, but the only thing you have to worry about is that this is flush with a 2x2, and then this is centered. Okay, once that's centered, you make your own center mark. If you go by my design of the box, from here, from the edge here, it'll be 3 foot and 4.5, and that'll give you this. Okay, and then you come from the end measurements here will be 11 5/8 and 13 3/4. Then you cut this out. If you do it that way, this hole and where the motor lines up should line up perfectly for the PVC to come through and keep it straight upright. All right, the next part that we're gonna do is I'm gonna put the motor on, mount it, put the washers and everything in the PVC through here, and mount the ass and legs to the board, and we'll start from there. Okay, and I'm hoping this ain't too confusing for you because of the way I did the box. But like I said, I had it, they threw it away, and that was the easiest way for me to do it. Okay, and it's kind of gonna look like this. I put these plates here because I made the hole too big. So, but what it's gonna look like is we're gonna do this part right here right now, put this PVC on, and we're gonna mount it like this. And see, it's good that I have this one together because it kind of gives you an idea of what we're looking at. Okay, so that's where we're gonna go next. Okay, first of all, I cut the hole out. I drilled a couple holes and then used the sawzall and sawed it out. I'm gonna put the bracket on and then the motor. Okay, I pre-drilled and then screwed the plate on. And now I'm going to screw the motor on real quick. Okay, I got the motor screwed on. I'm not going to show you like how I screwed it on and all that. I'm going to show you what it looks like when it's done, and what bolts you use, washers or whatever. But that's what it looks like so far. Okay, the next step is that I screwed the arm on. Now I'm going to put the washers, the screws, and everything on, and put the PVC through the hole on the top, the main PVC part. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a 2-inch bolt. I'm going to put a washer and a spacer. It's about a 1/2 inch to like a 3/8 spacer. Another washer, a washer, and an outline lock nut, and we're going to screw that all together. Okay, I got it just tight enough to where I can move this back and forth, move it back and forth, and it's not crimping or pinching or anything. Now I'm going to move on to the top half. Alright, now that I got this part done, I'm just going to stick the 1" 3/4 on. And I'm going to stick my 9½ piece with the hole up top like this. And I've never screwed any of this down yet. Not even on that one I didn't screw it down, so I mean that just leaves it for so I can do some adjustments. You should have the hole right there. Now I'm going to put the skeleton legs on and show you how to do that. Okay, now I have a 4" screw. Okay, with 2 little washers, 2 medium size and a big one. I mean, I guess it don't really matter what size of washers you got, but I have this big one because you need the big one like this. And then of course I got the non-lock nut. And what we're gonna do is mount this in the hole right there. So I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. Alright, what I did was I put the bolt on with 1 washer, and then I put 2 washers in here, the bigger washer, and 1 here. The reason why I did that is because the big washer creates more of a mass, keeps it more from twisting, and covers, you know what I'm saying, just stops it from like pivoting back and forth. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah. And of course it's a nylon nut, like always. Just give it enough to where it'll move freely and not like pivot back and forth a lot. And see, this is why I told you to cut that bone off so it doesn't scrape on the pipe. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to screw the feet to the board. Here, we're going to go, what is it, 6½? About 6, okay. We're going to go 6 inches in, 6 inches in. We're going to center and then go 20¼ So split that up in half, and that's where you're going to screw the feet in, and we're going to screw them in at a slight angle, and I'll show you what that looks like once I get it screwed in. Okay, now what I did was I screwed them in at an angle, so it has like a gap here on both sides, so it gets a nice pivot. And then what I did is I loosened these joints up just a little bit because they're a little tight if you don't loosen them up. So that's what we got so far. I mean, it's starting to look like a twerking skeleton. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take this off and screw the reindeer motor to it. So I'm going to take that off and then show you where to start to screw it in the measurements. Okay, I got the reindeer motor. I took out this screw and this screw. I'm going to screw through here and screw into this pipe. Make sure that the hole is on the opposite side of the reindeer motor. Just like that. And I'm going to use these long skinny screws that's going to go through, and I'll show you what that looks like when I'm done. Okay, I got it screwed in, and just like that, and screw it in a ½ inch down from the top, just like that, and then put it right back where it goes, which is right there. Alright, now I got that part stuck in there, and now what we're gonna do is attach the skeleton. Okay, now what I'm going to do is there was a little, like on this piece, this little nipple on that, I cut off on this piece. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to drill through this, and I'm going to use, put this screw here, so I got to drill a bigger hole on this, and this goes to the reindeer motor. Okay, and this is about a 2-inch screw that I'm going to put through here to mount to the reindeer motor. And of course I got the nylon nut. I have a medium-sized washer and 2 medium-sized washers and 2 bigger ones. Okay, and I'll show what it looks like once I get it mounted. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to mount this on here, put the screw through here, and mount it to the chest here, and I'll show you where the washers and all that stuff goes. I'll give you show you how it is once it's all together. Oh, and I forgot to tell you, whatever size this is, get a drill bit and drill all the way through, because it's not a hole all the way through, I don't think. You gotta drill all the way through. Okay, I put it on here, as you can see, and I put a smaller washer and a thicker washer. And the only reason why I put the thicker washers on, just to give it more mass, and so the chest, the back doesn't cock side to side. Just just gives it more sturdy. Then I put the small and the bigger washer there, and I use a nylon nut like I did before. Now I'm going to put the whole chest together and the head, and I'll show you what that looks like once it's done. Okay, I screwed the neck on. I just put a couple bolts here and there just because I have to take it off again if something goes wrong. Sometimes I find like a 1-inch drywall screw is better because sometimes them strip out. Now I'm going to put the chest on. Okay, I got the chest on, and obviously the screws are screwing from the back here. I'm sorry that I'm not doing like an in-depth how-to like I did the last one, but with the way this prop is, my camera won't get the angles I need and stuff, so I just kind of gotta do it like this. I'm sorry. So it is what it is. But if you're twerking skeleton don't look like this at this point, then I didn't do a good enough tutorial, I guess. Okay, now what I did was I put the arm on, and I screwed a drywall screw about right there, looks like about 1 inch or so, and I held the arm out this way almost straight but not quite, and drilled it in right in the middle of the joint down there. And then I'm going to drill his hand into here. I'm going to do the other side and then show you what it looks like. Alright, I got them both screwed in. Now just realize that here's where the joint was. I got it up a little higher in the seam. I'll tighten these joints up a little bit with a screw when I'm done. Try not to screw too much together until I know it's working, because it's a pain in the butt. I did it before where I screwed everything tight and then all of a sudden I had to come back. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to screw the hands to the legs, and then I'm going to hook up the motor. Well, I'm going to show you how the head lifts, and we'll go from there. Okay. Now I screwed in the hands. Of course they're loose. About from the screw 3 inches in on the almost on the top, but not quite on the top. 3 inches this way. Okay, I got the power supply on, and I got this. I had a little bit of problem with this because I had that washer in there, and it was too far. It made this lean back a little bit, and it put a little more pressure on there. So I took that washer out and put like 2 washers in there. You know, you'll have to figure that out on your own. You know what I mean? Just make sure you heat up. You know, when you melt this, you get a nice, 2 or 3 inches so it doesn't hit on this. But and like right here I had to actually cut it out to 14 instead of 13 3/4 because it just gave it too much of a pivot. I didn't really like the way that looked. So remember when you're doing that to figure that out. Okay, now to get his head to tilt back, what I did was use zip tie. And when the reindeer motor comes down, it lets his head go down, but when it comes up, it puts a little bit of pressure there and lifts his head up. So you'll have to, I always go through like 4 or 5 zip ties to figure out how I want it. So, just remember, you're gonna zip tie it, and just zip tie a little at a time till you get the right head movement. Okay, so this one's done now. It's got a slight different motion, but that's you can adjust all that by where you put your hands. You still got the nice lift up your head, and it's got a nice sway. I got this one moving a little faster than the other one. I kind of like how he lifts his head way up. So, but how you adjust how this pivots a little bit, you use the hands and you hold it here and then let it go through the motions, and then you put that extra screw in there, and that'll keep the hand right and keep this in place, which will keep this in place. And you do the same thing with this, because once you do that, this will try to swivel. So then you hold this up and then figure out where you want it, and then you screw another screw in, and that keeps like the upper torso from spinning around. But if you want more spinning, then you move the hands around. You can move the legs around. Sorry the tutorial wasn't better, but that's all I got to give you. Honest for life.
Listen.